All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on this webinar. We put this together pretty quickly because the laws are being passed and changes are happening every day. So there was a bill passed last night. We have been dissecting it all day, and we've got some hopefully really helpful insights for you to navigate this really difficult time. So I am going to pass it over to my guy, Shane Mason.
Hey everyone, hope everyone's hanging in there. We have a bit of an agenda for you in your business today. I want to remind you guys that we do have two webinars. We have one that is focusing on your business that we're going to talk about today. We work with a lot of business owners as an accounting firm owner and as a financial planning firm owner. We work with a lot of small business owners, hopefully just like you, between 1 and 40 employees. Usually south of $10 million in revenue, and what the U.S. would consider a small business is anything smaller than 25 million. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. We do have a personal webcast for individuals next week. It's on Tuesday, right, AJ? Yeah. So we're going to be focusing on the issues surrounding non-business owners and how to deal with your personal finances more in depth on Tuesday. Today, we're going to try to focus on, we're going to be looking at this from an employer's perspective. If you've got employees, or if you've got independent contractors, or if you have neither of those, you're just a sole proprietor. That's what we are going to focus on today, just as a backdrop. We just have 30 minutes, so I'm going to be moving as fast as I can. The things are moving very rapidly in the government relief space and in the economy, so I'm going to move fast too. As a introduction to ourselves, AJ and I, we're both 50/50 partners in the Brooklyn FI family of companies, one of which focuses on accounting, one of them and outsource accounting and CFO services for small business owners. Everything from your tax return to the accounting to payroll to forecasting, etc. And we also have a financial planning firm that works with about 100 to 110 individuals. Both companies both focus on creative business owners and tech professionals. The two of them tend to marry each other for some reason that we don't know yet, but that is
Literally.
the trend. Yeah. So that's a function of our the people we run with, and that's how we started our business about 7 years ago. We've got 6 employees, or including AJ and I. There's 6 of us, and we're growing fast, just like you. Hopefully, some of the things that we talk about will help today. Will help buoy your business and keep you moving forward as you were before this totally unexpected event. Okay, let's start with the current state of affairs. Like I said, things are moving very quickly. I think it was just last week. Some people were even still thinking, we didn't start working from home until last Monday. There was a huge tax deadline last Monday. I wish we could have stopped the week before that, but just 2 weeks ago, people were still kind of scoffing at this thing, and then before we knew it, it was in almost every country. And I don't think anyone's really scoffing anyone with any sense. So Congress, in an effort there was 3 bills that were making their way through Congress. The third bill finally passed today, and this is the biggest stimulus package in U.S. history, and it's in response to record unemployment and the meltdown of the global economy. When I say meltdown, I was thinking about this before. I don't want to make any predictions about how long this is going to last. I do think that there will be some pent-up demand for however many months it takes for everyone to get back on their feet until we develop our herd immunity or what have you. I'm not sure this will be a unique recession. I know that it'll be similar to the Great Recession in some ways, in that there are huge amounts of unemployed individuals and a huge slowdown in the economy. I don't know if the jobless rate will last. Well, it took 10 years for our economy to recover from the Great Recession before we got back to full employment. I think that everyone is going to be ready to rock as soon as this thing settles down. We're going to have to see how that pans out. It's going to be a unique one, but we have not seen any of our own clients receive any relief or loans yet, any grants from any of the packages that have been released, introduced, whether at the federal, state, or city level. But we have filled out a lot of applications. We're going to give you a look at some of the materials that you're going to want to use to apply for loans and grants later on. If we had, there have been a 3.3, just to put some context, I'm not sure if you've seen this or not, but this looks like an anomaly in a chart. This is by week since the late 60s, applications for unemployment benefits. You can see in the Great Recession, we had a spike about 12 years ago. This was last week. So this came fast and hard, and it's gonna be interesting to see how things pan out. We would go into more detail about each one of these packages and the general context and ways to handle your business if we have more time. Things are moving fast. It's hard to analyze anything in great depth and with great accuracy. We just want to put things in front of you so that if you have the time to explore them, then you know where to go to find the resources that are applicable to your business. Most of the info within this webinar, the info that we've gathered from this webinar to provide to you has come from conversations that we've had with our clients that are either closing shop because they run businesses that require people to gather to generate revenue. So they are legally not even allowed to. They're not allowed to do that anymore. So we've had clients lay off over 40 employees. We've had clients that have 5 employees. We've had clients that are thriving in this recession because they work remotely. We've got a lot of different things going on. A lot of growing businesses that are trying to, a lot of the relief that we're seeing, the requirements are that your revenue has dropped by more than 25%, or you've been materially impacted by coronavirus. Well, if you look, and they want you to compare prior periods to this period, well, a lot of our businesses are growing. So if you're growing at 100% per year, it's pretty hard to show just for the month of March or February that you've been materially impacted, because this really just started happening 2 weeks ago. We are still advising our clients to apply for everything that they can so that they're further along in the queue, so that when someone does review any applications, you're one of the first people that they review, and that you're on the radar and you're on the list. It's like getting in line for a ride that you may not be tall enough to ride, but at least you'll find out before someone else does. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, so they passed the CARES Act this morning or this afternoon. We saw the first, we got our first look at it last night. The Senate passed it. It went to the House today, and the CARES Act, Corona, that's what the C in CARES Act stands for. I forget what the rest of it stands for, but it's 883 pages long. I understand that they did not have time to tally up all of the expense before they passed it. They wanted to get it, which is pretty rare, they wanted to get it into the hands of taxpayers as soon as possible. Two of the main things that we are going to be seeing coming out of this act for individuals and small business owners are expanded unemployment benefits that increase the payout for up to by $600 a week. So I know in New York City, the average payout was only the top payout, the maximum payout was about $500 a week. So if we expand that to, which is $2,000 a month, so you could be going from $2,000 a month to a little over $4,000 a month in unemployment benefits. They greatly expanded the amount of people, the type of people that can qualify, including independent contractors and gig workers. It used to be the unemployment insurance system is designed for employers pay the premiums, and if they let people go because their business has shrank due to reasons that are out of their control, then their premiums increase, so it gets expensive for them to lay people off because they pay into the unemployment insurance pool. So gig workers and economy and freelancers weren't really involved in that because there was no one paying premiums, so you don't really benefit from insurance unless you pay premiums generally. This new bill has expanded the coverage to independent contractors and gig workers, so and hopefully more business owners. We're going to talk about that a bit more later on, but it also provides for stimulus checks to citizens, which is what, you are a business owner, but you're also a citizen just like everyone else, and we have a summary about what type of these stimulus checks look like to all of the individuals within the economy. How much of the checks? Looks like everyone's getting a universal basic income check, something that some candidates recently fought very hard for and it was a radical new idea. It's interesting to see these checks being issued just a few months after that comes to the forefront. So it's $1,200 for any single individuals, $2,400, and those that are head of household on their tax return. This is all tax related. You're gonna have to reference your tax return to see how much money you're gonna get. $2,400 for those that file joint, so 2 people in that household, so double the check. And if you have a child, you get $500 for each child on your tax return. A qualifying child for the child tax credit are the same requirements. So a child, how old is a child? Some kids that are disabled, some kids that are older but are still in college sometimes qualify for other tax benefits. In this context, it's those that would qualify under the qualifying child doctrine for the child tax credit, which generally means they got to be 16 years old or younger. So you get $500 for each one of them. Your income needs to be low enough. This is phased out. This isn't for higher income individuals. This is designed to get lower income individuals back on their feet, to pay their rent, pay their bills. So we're going to talk about the income limits here in a bit, but to reference your income limit, it's either your 2018 or your 2019 tax return. So it would have been more beneficial, in our opinion, if they had, I just got a question. It's a one-time thing, Melody. We think that they will be expanding. I'm sorry, I won't be answering any more questions unless AJ throws them at me. But there's a potential for them to do this again. We expect this to be phase one of maybe multiple payments, depending on how things go. These checks, from what we've seen in predictions from smart folks that were following this on the Hill, is that they expect these checks to go out in about 3 weeks, so early April, right around the old tax deadline. Yeah, so I expect multiple personally based on how this thing is trending. So let's talk about income. If you are married and you make if you make less than $150,000, your household's going to get the full $2,400 plus $500 per kid. If you make between $150,000 and $198,000, you will receive a prorated amount. I believe you receive $5 less for every $100 of income is how that math works. If you make more than $198,000, you receive no money. And you could use that same methodology for head of household folks and single people here. So most of our clients are younger. Most of them are single. So if you make more than $100,000, you won't be receiving a check. Now, where are they going to be referencing that? If you have filed a 2018 tax return, I'm sure most of you have, not everyone has. If you have a 2018 tax return on file, they are going to reference your adjusted gross income. What a great word. It's your total income, your wages, minus your 401k contributions, minus IRA contributions that are tax deductible, HSA contributions that are tax deductible. If you're self-employed, self-employment tax. Best way to go look and find this number is to pull up your 2018 tax return. Look at line 7. It says this is your adjusted gross income. So that's the number that they're going to use. If your income falls between these thresholds or below or above them, then you have been forewarned. The other interesting thing about these stimulus checks is how they're going to pay them. So they're going to, let's talk about your 2019 return first and then come back to how it's going to be paid. If you've filed your 2019 return already, it generally takes the IRS about 3 weeks to process that. If you've already filed it, I don't know how that mechanic is going to work. They passed this act today. It's 900 pages long almost. I don't know if they're going to be referencing returns that were filed in February, beginning of March. At our firm, we have halted e-filing of all tax returns that have authorization. We have authorizations from our clients in anticipation of looking at when this is going to be determined, when your return is filed and when the cutoff is. If you're sitting on a 2019 tax return right now and you file your own taxes, I would probably wait to see what the cutoff is for determining that. And I would look at your 2018 return. And if you had higher income in 2018 than you do in 19, file your 2019 return as soon as possible. And if vice versa, don't file your return yet. That's our current thinking on it right now. Now, how are the checks going to come to everyone that qualifies? By the way, if you don't have a 2018 return on file, they're going to reference Social Security Administration. Your W-2 is also filed with the Social Security Administration, so they're going to reference that. And they're going to cut checks to your latest known address. They're going to put it in the mail. And if you don't have a tax return on file, if you do have a tax return on file and you listed that you wanted electronic direct deposit or direct debit, then the IRS knows your bank account, and that's where they're going to send the money. So don't close that account. If you have that account still, if you don't have that account still, I don't know what's going to happen. If you close that account, I don't know. We're going to see. This is going to be nasty. This is going to be weird. All they had to do, well, they just wanted to push it out as fast as possible. I understand. But Yeah, so stay tuned for how that develops. We're going to be taking questions at the end of this. I think AJ is answering some in the chat right now. But stimulus covered, we want to quickly talk about how our firm pivoted. We got 6 people that are all now, we were all in a WeWork, now we're all working from home. One of the very first things that we did was that we did a cybersecurity audit. I'm kind of a tech nerd, so I had a lot of stuff in place already, ready to rock ahead of working from home. I was pretty ready for that. But we did do an audit with, we hired a third-party provider to take a look and do an audit on our tech. We got a lot of social security numbers, birthdays, addresses, sensitive client data. I'm sure a lot of you guys do too. You might not think it's as important as what we have, but if somebody can, for those of you that don't have important data to external parties, it might be very important to you, and someone could ransomware your information, lock up all your files, and your business could go in a halt because one of your employees is working from their home Wi-Fi network and they live next to a hacker or whatever, or a teenager, and they get a hold of it. So I recommend reaching out to Tech Guru. We're going to have this on our website. You'll see later. They'll do a free 15-minute consultation. He pointed out 1-2 factor that I was missing that was really important, so that was really great. I personally installed TeamViewer on all the machines of all of my staff so that I could remote in, check their Wi-Fi password, make sure Bitdefender was installed. We all use LastPass, and we use YubiKeys to make sure that you have to access passwords, you got to insert a key. This little bad boy is only $50, and it keeps all the bad guys out of all your passwords. We got 600 passwords stored in our LastPass. We use them to share as a team. We use LastPass Teams, by the way. Great tool. It's like a few $100s a year, I think. We've got VPNs installed just in case they do need to get on the Wi-Fi. Bitdefender has a VPN solution for up to 10 people for like $50 a year, I think. And then just to make sure that everyone was logged out around their nephews and to make sure they didn't accidentally e-file a tax return, you can set up on Windows at least where your phone locks to your Bluetooth, to your computer. If you walk away from your computer, it automatically logs that person out. So I would do a password audit on everyone and just a little tech audit. I think we're gonna, we're obviously doing more webinars to stay in touch with folks. AJ wants me to remind you guys to stay healthy. Do some jogging. Okay.
Oh, that was for you, Shane. That was for you to stay healthy.
Good luck. Unemployment wise, you now qualify for unemployment. Business owners, you've always qualified for unemployment if you pay into the system. That includes you as the business owner. Now, when you go, and unemployment is different for every state. There's a federal unemployment system that intertwines with each state's New York system. Each state system of which I'm most familiar with New York for obvious reasons. And it's a very robust system in New York, very blue state. So when you apply for unemployment, you apply through your state. It's not a federal thing. You are applying through the state of New York, which the website has been difficult to navigate over the past 2 weeks for obvious reasons. But with the new laws passed, and as a business owner, the state of New York has a guidebook. It's about 52 pages long. They actually have good materials, good design even within their materials. And there's walkthroughs, and it says that business owners do not qualify for unemployment if they still work in the business. And if the business is still open and operating, or even in a state of wind down, you are still employed, winding down the business, therefore not unemployed. With the new laws, I'm not sure if that's still the case. I have a feeling it's not. So I've been telling all my business owners to apply for unemployment if you have closed shop to help hold you over. You might even qualify for New York's paid family leave system, short-term disability system, or emergency leave. So just hit all of them up. Everything insurance and employment related, put your name in the hat, please, as soon as possible. If you don't qualify, you don't qualify. Your time wasn't wasted. Freelancers Union has always been a great resource for our business owners. Freelancers sometimes feels like somebody just doing copy editing in a coffee shop. It's not just that. We're members of the Freelancers Union. They've got great short-term disability benefits that you might qualify for under the paid family if you get coronavirus. I was thinking like all these benefits for people that get the coronavirus aren't going to be that helpful. I now know 3 or 4 people that have it remotely. I know them. So I think that some of you probably know some people that would qualify for benefits under these new, anything that's not only for people that have it, but also for your employees that you've retained, if you haven't let go of all of them that have the coronavirus. There is, you are required to provide leave to them. We're going to talk about this a bit later. Paid leave. There are tax credits that you can apply for. It'll probably end up being applied for on your 2020 tax return when we go to file that in 2021, or if you go to file that, where you'll apply for the benefits, apply for the tax credits. So again, encourage your employees to apply for unemployment. You as a business owner will probably get a separation information request to confirm that the employee's leave was not for misconduct. You do not qualify for unemployment for misconduct. It's not intended to reward people that commit sexual harassment or don't perform their job duties significantly. It's for people that are laid off with no fault of their own. So you will, if someone was let go for misconduct and they apply for unemployment, do not certify that because it'll increase your premiums for no reason. Okay, now there are specific grants and disaster loan programs we want to touch on here. New York City specifically. Now I know you're not all in New York City, so maybe use this as an example. But New York City has a grant that allows for $75,000 to help ensure business continuity. You have to demonstrate that your business has a decrease of revenue of 25% or more. If you recently shut your doors, what we've been doing for our outsourced CFO clients is showing, printing out a profit and loss statement, not by month or by year, but by day, that shows that we had revenue up until March X, and now we have nothing. That might not be enough for these people, but we've been putting together packages for the agents to help answer their questions before they're answered. So you can't give them too much information, in my opinion. Try to send them W-3s that you filed for your employees last year, a list of dismissed employees, a photo of the front door of your business with the gate down or the door closed, whatever it is. I don't think you can overwhelm them with information. The Small Business Disaster Relief Program, we have not seen any funds coming from here, but you can get up to $2 million for small business loans. Generally the Small Business Administration has all types of small business loans. And they've got expanded amounts now with this new benefit program. One of my favorite websites to help you apply for small business loans is BetterFin, as in Better Financial, just cut off the financial. BetterFin.com. They're based in Williamsburg, but they help clients all over the world. They help you apply for small business loans. They pull your information from your accounting software, feed it to the small business loan program. They have a website for COVID specifically to help you navigate small business loans under the SBA that are applicable to you. So please give them a check out. We're running out of time. I'm going to keep moving forward. There is we can make these slides available on our website, which we'll post later. There is, since we have a disaster, and this is a kink in the tax code that was discovered by Tony Nitti. Since this was a disaster, a federally declared disaster, Code Section 139 of the tax code is now in effect. It hasn't been used since September 11th. This is an interesting thing. It's just out of goodwill. If you need to provide for your employees anything to help them deal with COVID-related stuff, whether that's home office equipment, utility bills, medical bills, you pay that to them. That's typically, if you give your employees money, it's taxable, typically. It is not now for specific expenses under this plan. It's been 20 years since this has been applicable. This is, if you need to help your employees stay afloat, you can pay that. You can give them money. It would have been taxable to them in the past. It's not taxable to them, but it is a tax deduction for you. So on your books, you might want to create a new line item that says COVID-19 related disaster relief payments to employees, something like that, so that we can track that later when we prepare your tax returns. I want to back up some general overall tips. Tax returns for individuals have been pushed back to July 15th. Not the same for businesses. Businesses, this didn't happen 10 days ago was when the businesses' tax returns were due. This wasn't even a thing 10 days. It was starting to become a thing. They didn't have time to push it back. Late payment of sales tax, excise tax, income tax in New York and New York City, penalties and interest have been halted for up to 60 days. even on sales tax. They didn't announce that until the deadline, so unfortunately they didn't announce that until it was due. So we might not be able to, it might be already paid. Some of you haven't paid your sales tax, you've declared how much it is and didn't pay it. You should be penalty and interest free on that for up to 60 days. Like I said before, apply for every type of relief that you see, and whatever sticks, sticks. Employers are required to pay. Yeah, we already touched on this tax credit. Special enrollment for health insurance, the deadline was pushed to April 15th. Interest rate on tax, yeah, this is a big one. So you might be wondering when to pay your taxes. Well, and you might have credit card bills and small business loans. Interest rates on tax debts are about 5%. If you need to pay your landlord to stay in your house and decide against paying the tax man, go on an installment agreement with the tax man and pay your landlord. The IRS, you can pay for bills off over 6 years. So that's just a general bit of advice. It looks like we're going to run over a little bit, AJ.
Yeah, that's cool. We're perfectly on time. We were going to do the presentation for 30 minutes, and now we have 15 minutes to answer questions.
All right, cool. Not bad. I accidentally perfectly timed that. I got a list of questions here. I'll go through quickly. This is what people have provided ahead of time. Some people, you might want to see kind of other questions other people are asking. So we provided a list here. Here's some of the questions we got ahead of time. I'm a freelancer who owns my own S Corp. I'm the sole employee in California. Am I entitled to a stimulus check? Yes. You are entitled to a stimulus check as long as your income falls within the thresholds we talked about earlier. You're entitled to small business disaster loans. You're entitled to unemployment potentially, like I said earlier, if you have discontinued your business, or under the new federal unemployment stimulus bill, you might apply. You might not have to close your business. I'm not sure yet. I would still apply. California should have a robust unemployment division, just like New York. What are some tools to better understand cash flow? At a personal level, AJ and I love Tiller to look at historical cash flow. It's $60 a year. Forecasting wise, to look forward for your business, there are 3 apps I like to use. There is, and none of them are free, but one of them is called Float. Float, how much money, and it plugs into your QuickBooks. Another one is Cash Flow Tool is the name of it. I believe that one's $100 a month, and they all plug into Xero or QuickBooks, and it allows you to give you a cash flow forecast. I forget the third one right now. Well, I know the third one right now, but it starts at about $400 a month, so I'm going to keep moving. I have paused biz development outreach. I know I always need to restart, but I'm sure when it's too soon and my approach should change. You don't want to look rude. I don't know what business you're in, but I'm assuming you don't want to look callous for developing business during everyone else's economic slowdown. I mean, you got to take care of yourself. I think everyone is taking care of themselves, but also taking care of each other at the same time. The conversations I've had with everyone is this feels like a World War, like a war type. We're all in this together, but we all need to take care of each other. And I think guards are down right now. And if speak truthfully with folks, I think they'll understand. I'm both a business owner and a freelancer. How does unemployment due to COVID work for me? I think I covered that. Can 1099s apply for, yes, I think I covered that. Bare minimum, they should pay in quarterly estimated taxes. If you're applying for unemployment, I think 0 would be what you pay in estimated taxes. The interest and penalties on those are lower. I think cash is more important. Keep that for yourself and build up, pay the penalties later. Just keep yourself afloat. Make sure you've got what you need. Self-employed provider qualify for grant, sort of financial assistance, covered this. Foregoing estimated payments, just covered that. Starting from scratch with a new business model, going from primarily brick and mortar to online. Any advice? I covered some of the videos or the cybersecurity stuff earlier.
I'm gonna jump in here and sort of go back and answer that other question about, should I halt biz dev outreach? I've never done online marketing before. How do I do that? And my advice to you is be honest. Everyone is experiencing this in a different way right now. Some people are in the hospital suffering from COVID. Some people's businesses are thriving right now because they were able to pivot quickly. So just be honest with your situation. And I think your clients and future clients will really, feel that empathy with you. So as you're reaching out to new people, as you're creating new streams of revenue, just be cognizant that, everyone's having a hard time right now. And just try to reach out and be yourself is my advice there.
Thanks, AJ. I can't touch on the brick. I think AJ just kind of touched on the brick and mortar versus online.
Oh, also one point is if you are using Zoom, please make sure you pay for the premium service. If you have the freemium, someone can run in and interrupt your Zoom. It's worth I think it's $40 a month. Definitely a great investment.
Tenants not paying rent and the New York no eviction rule during this time. I believe that the state put a moratorium on mortgage payments. So I think you need to work with if they know you're not paying mortgage, then this is going to be one of the most interesting things about New York City. I don't, as a business owner, like this isn't like a landlord focused. I'm not familiar with the landlord rules as I am with normal service-based businesses, to be honest with you. I want to learn more about what small businesses are facing in this crazy time. I think I've seen a lot over the past 2 weeks. I think a lot of people are either they feel like this is not affecting them and they always wanted to work from home, or they're literally crying every single night because they've had to lay off 40 of their closest friends. Will I be eligible for the government check? Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the criteria. Can business owners apply for unemployment? Touched on that. Financial steps you recommend during the crisis. Hoard cash is what I would recommend during the crisis. If you have to use a credit card, I would explore signing up for maybe a 0% introductory interest credit card where you don't pay any interest for the first 6 to 12 months on that card. I imagine they're getting a lot of applications these days. You might want to do a balance transfer to a 0% interest card if you are light on cash. Hoard cash. Small business grants versus loans. Grants first, loans second. A 0% loan, you could take a loan for $100,000 with 0%, pay it back in 6 months. No harm, no foul. Nothing happened. But at least you had dry powder just in case you needed it in the future. It might impact your credit score minorly, but that's way smaller of a deal than you losing your baby. Can business owners file for payroll? Yeah, we touched that. What criteria does small business need to benefit? Touched on that. It's really for people, not for businesses. The relief for businesses comes in the form of tax credits and the grants and the loans. I did a lot more in 2018 than 19 or 20. Am I, good for you, you already made more in 20 than 19. Am I concerned I won't be getting adequate financial assistance? Any advice? If you already filed your 2019 return, we touched on this already, you might not get a check. If you haven't filed it yet, I might hold off on that, is my advice. And if you're doing better than others, I would hold them close and help them out, your fellow Americans. That's all we've got for, yeah.
Sorry, just a quick point there about helping your fellow Americans. So over the past 2 years, most people have not been able to deduct their charitable contributions on their tax return because most Americans get the standard deduction of $12,200 for tax year 2019. But in this stimulus package that was just passed is a new deduction for $300, up to $300 for charitable contribution. So if you make a $300 charitable contribution, you get to deduct $300 from your taxable income. Just a nice way to encourage everyone to, support when they can. If you can't, that's totally fine. Maybe you are going to be the recipient of it, but it does have to be to a 501c3, a charity that has is a specific entity type. Most GoFundMe campaigns will not qualify. Just want to put that out there. Obviously, the reason you're donating is not for the tax credit, but just so you're aware of it, make sure that your accountant knows that you did make that contribution.
Tax deduction.
Right.
Excellent. No, that's a great point. So they built in some altruism into this, into the new tax law, into the new law. All right, Q&A time. Maybe before we move on to that, I just want to focus on one thing that we've been putting together for our clients is our COVID-19 loan application checklist. So when you go to the Small Business Disaster Relief Program, they're going to ask you for financials as well as entity information. Here's the checklist of items we've been putting together for our clients, including just a summary of what the business does, who the owners are, the officers and directors. They're going to want to know who owns the thing. They're going to want to see a 2-year comparison of your profit and loss, aka your income statement. We like to see that in PDF so that it looks like it wasn't edited. If you have to send it in Excel, whatever works. profit and loss by month as well. We like to see profit and loss by day, as I touched on earlier, so you can show the day that the doors closed, if they did that work that way. Your W-3 package from Gusto or from JustWorks or ADP, payroll, whatever, shows you all the W-2s you filed for 2019. Q1 of 2020 is not over yet, so your payroll forms haven't been filed for Q1 of 2020 yet, so they don't know how many employees you have. Last year is the closest last file date. You could provide supplemental information such as your list of employees in Gusto or JustWorks, wherever, or unfortunately, if you have this, your list of dismissed employees, if you've recently dismissed them, they're going to want to see your incorporation documents. That's what you filed with LegalZoom or your accountant or your lawyer when you started up the company, certificates of incorporation, articles of incorporation, online filing receipt, your CP's 575, or your EIN letter that shows your EIN when you first created it. I like to show the year-to-date payroll journal so that we can see what's been filed so far, and tax returns, prior 2 years of tax returns. If you have a sole prop, that's your personal return. If you've got a business, that's your S Corp or your 1120, your S Corp or your C Corp or your partnership tax return, prior 2 years of those. If you don't have 2 years, or if you haven't filed 2019, just your 2 most recently filed years. And put that in a package and send it off to the folks down at SBA or your local grant providing service. AJ, what's going on in the chats? Can I?
I've been answering most of the questions, so I don't have much to feed you.
Okay.
But maybe you could just speak a little bit about estimated payments and maybe how those are usually paid and the extension for that, and what people should do if they made a lot of money last year, they get an estimated payment voucher, but they're not going to make as much this year.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to calculate your estimates. There is wherein there's a safe harbor to prevent you from paying any underpayment penalties. And most accountants and tax software, when they do your taxes at the very beginning of the year, we got no idea how much money you're going to make for the rest of the year. So to cover our own asses, we tell you to pay in 110% of your prior year tax. So right now, that would be 2019. And we're at the beginning of 2020. We don't know how much money you're going to make for the next 9 months. So if you paid $10,000 in taxes, not paid, but your tax bill, I want to be clear about this, not how much you owed with your tax return. And you might be saying, oh, I'm off scot-free because I had a refund with my tax return. No, we're talking about the raw. This is the amount of your tax for the year. And then when that's compared to how much you've paid in, you get a refund or you owe money, 110% of your raw tax. So and we have this on brooklynfitax.com/estimates. This is how this is all spelled out with nice illustrations, but we tell you to pay in 110% of prior year tax. But if you are not going to make as much money in 2020, which a lot of people aren't, you want to pay in 90% of your current year tax. Okay, now that's hard to calculate because who knows how to calculate their tax right in the middle of the year? You got to talk to an accountant. There's not a lot of great websites out there. I think TaxAct might have estimate your own tax. H&R Block probably has an estimate your own tax. The IRS has a withholding calculator that will help you update your W-2 digitally on their website. I think ADP has a estimate your own tax software. Unfortunately, taxes have never been simplified. We actually, for freelancers on our website, we have a freelancers tax tables because I get this question so often. It has about maybe 15 different levels of income that you can experience during a year. And it also has the tax that you can expect to pay on that amount of income. So if you go reference that table, it'll show you how much tax you can expect on, say, $10,000 of net income from your business or $80,000 of net income from your business. Now, to be clear, this is for sole proprietors. S Corps and partnerships, there's too much going on to make it so simplified. So you can hire an accountant if you really want to know the number. If you don't have income and that means you can't hire an accountant, then don't pay your estimates. Just hold on to all your cash if you're that jammed up. Does that make sense? Is there anything else you want to?
Yeah, that was really helpful. Thank you. And yeah, just so everyone knows, if you haven't been following along, I've been dropping a bunch of links in the chat. Most of these links are on our website, which is brooklynfitax.com. We have some resources specifically for COVID and all the relief packages, and that's brooklynfitax.com/COVIDbiz. And yeah, we're we're here for you. I mean, we've been helping a lot of businesses navigate this really tough time, and it is really tough. So we're here for you. You can reach out to us, brooklynfitax.com/contact, which I believe is the next slide, Mr. Shane.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, we have a webinar on Monday as well. And yes, Matt, we will be making a new run of our Joy Division market volatility shirts to reflect the recent volatility in the stock market. We'll be talking about that on Tuesday as well. Did I say Monday? The webinar is Tuesday at 6 p.m. I dropped a link to register for that there. Yeah, thanks so much, Shane, for sharing all that knowledge. And thank you to all of you who have tuned in. This is exciting. This is the first time we've done a webinar like this for the general public. And we hope it went well.
Thank you, everyone.